AudioCure Pharma is poised to turn hearing loss and tinnitus into treatable events. Hearing disorders are endemic. 1 out of 4 will suffer of hearing disorders by 2050, but already now 1 out of 6 suffers of chronic tinnitus alone. And despite that, there are no drugs available. Why is that the case? First of all, the inner ear is very well protected from the bloodstream. Secondly, even if you deliver locally, important regions cannot be reached. Thirdly, there's a complex pathology going on that cannot be treated by a single mode of action. And if we look into the inner ear by electron microscopy, we can see the sensory cells sitting here nicely, but upon trauma, there is either cell death or severe cell damage, which is irreversible, unless you have AudioCure's AC102, which is a small molecule, a new chemical entity. It reaches the inner ear at high concentrations within minutes. It reaches all areas of the inner ear, and it has a bimodal action to stop cell death and to revert the damage to sensory cells and the nervous tissue. Now back to the inner ear, guinea pig cochlea, the sensory cells, again, sitting here nicely. Again, upon trauma, a significant cell death, moth-eaten picture. But if we intervene after the trauma with AC102, that can be stopped and the cells survive. Well, we know from the electron microscopy that still these surviving cells are severely damaged. So we have to deal with that as well. So back to the sensory cell, here connected in gray to the auditory nerve through a synapse in red and green. An intact synapse can be seen by the yellow overlap. So upon a noise trauma, the synapses are torn apart with orphan synapses, pre-synapse and post-synapse. But if we again intervene with AC102, these synapses reform and rejoin. So the signal again can be relayed from the ear to the brain. And that's what it looks like in an audiogram. So we have a trauma here, and 14 days later, there are vehicle-treated and AC102 treated animals, and those treated with vehicles still have a significant hearing loss of around 40 decibel in the audiogram, while those in orange treated with AC102 have a damage of less than 10 decibel, and decibel is a logarithmic scale, so 40 means quite a bit of hearing loss, while less than 10 you wouldn't even be able to realize. Now, as AC102 has such a strong neurorestorative property, it makes it an ideal candidate not only for acute, but also for chronic hearing loss, for acute and chronic tinnitus and Parkinson's disease. And we ran a number of fantastic animal disease models and got really compelling data. So based on that, we started our clinical development. We completed a phase 1 in healthy volunteers successfully very recently. And we're about to start a phase 2 clinical study in acute hearing loss, which is already funded. But based on the fantastic animal data, we are also seeking new funding with new investors to also run clinical studies for acute tinnitus, chronic hearing loss, and chronic tinnitus. So we are having an exceptional opportunity here, being the first mover in an untapped market. We have an enormous unmet medical need. AC102 has an unseen and unmatched bimodal efficacy. We have a strong and long-term IP position. The phase 2 in acute hearing loss is about to start soon. And we have an absolutely fantastic pipeline of indications and molecules. So happy to talk to you. Many thanks.